Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Bravehearts all around the world. So, Lorraine Clifford, who is one of our master trainers, she did a one-a-day on Facebook and Instagram, okay? And it was all about hysterectomies, okay? And understand something, okay? I'm going to go through the audio that Lorraine did. I'm going to take it apart and talk about it from a man's point of view and from a point of view a little bit different than Lorraine on hysterectomies. Okay, now, I know that I have a tendency to go out and stir things up. I'm not looking to irritate, agitate, or anybody, okay? But the reality is, if we don't challenge our beliefs, we're not growing. I'm going to tell you something. I challenge my beliefs every day. I'm not expecting you to believe my beliefs. I just want you to take a look at them and ask yourself, are they logical? One man's truth is another man's lie. Today, this medical breakthrough is tomorrow's medical breakdown. Do you understand? I get it. I'm not telling you that I have it right, but I'll tell you what I don't want to do. I don't want to cause a fight. I want to challenge your belief systems, because are your belief systems actually your belief systems? The majority of the population will never awaken to the fact that they've been programmed. They will never awaken to the fact from 0 to 7 they're in a hypnotic state, and that anything that happened in their life, that's 70 to 90% of their program. Most people believe that they're born with a personality or it was God-given. Well, let me tell you something. It was man-manipulated, driven into you. It was force-fed. And you really think that your belief system, and I'm telling you, only 1 out of 10,000 people, actually go in and recreate a personality that is totally amazing. And I'm telling you something right now. Without creativity, you don't have your own personality. What are you creating every day? What are you doing different every day? Are you getting involved in something that scares you but excites you a lot each and every day? And are you changing 1% every day? Because you better, because you're unlimited possibility. Let's get to the topic at hand. Look at this. Okay, just so you see. Female hysteria. Okay? You females need to calm the heck down. You calm down, you females. I'm telling you right now, we'll put you in your place. Let me tell you something. Females are the canary in the coal mine. And understand something. Where a man may burp and fart from not eating something right, a woman will throw up. Well, guess why? Because she brings life into the world. There's actually a spirit being that enters into her womb. Are you ready for that? Okay, listen. And the reality is this, the medical system, I mean, as far as pregnancy goes and raising children, they've got their head up their butt so far that they'll never see the light of day. And that's my personal opinion. You don't like it? Don't really care. I've been around long enough to know that they don't care. They think they care, but they're medical care. They're not health care, okay? Now, let me just tell you something right now. You're not going to like this, but when I was a kid, I even knew about this. And anybody that really was into things knew this and actually saw it on movies when they were a kid. And that's this. Women that had a little bit too much attitude. You women need to back off and get in your place. My father, God loved him, he used to be a part-time pastor and he was a carpenter. And guess what? He used to say that that women were actually created from man's rib. And the reality is this, whatever way he meant it, okay, understand something. If God were actually male or female, it would have to be female because it creates, it doesn't decimate. But let me just get back to this. So the reality is, you may not know this, but you can go back when movies were black and white and you'd find that women, they had hysteria. Okay, so here we go. And you know what? I used to be able to look this up. When I was 30, we were talking about this and doing videos on this. And the reality is today I can't even find this stuff. So I had to look for it. It's on Wikipedia. And it's not like it used to be, because guess what? It's his story. They're going to turn around every story. You got to understand something. Whoever wins the war gets to tell the story, and they get to tell it their way. Just like we celebrate holidays for people that should have went to jail, okay? Anyways, that's just my personal opinion. I'll try not to get too political here today. And here we go. Female hysteria. Okay, I did show it to you. I'm just going to read it. That's all I'm going to do. Female hysteria was once a common medical diagnosis for women. Okay, now, you may not know this, but why don't you go and check this out? Okay, so men have hearing problems and women have what? Memory problems. That's right. More women have Alzheimer's than men, and more men have hearing problems than women, because men don't want to hear from women. And understand, back when I was a kid and even younger, okay, men, okay, they didn't come from their heart. Okay, I get it. You know, all the wars that were going on, and you know, and everything like that. But you have to understand something. To be a real man, you have to have a feminine side. And then a woman will also have a masculine side. Do you understand? But if we don't have a feminine side, being men, and we don't come from our heart, well, we'll just tear this world apart. We'll tear our families apart. I mean, men are so damn stubborn, they won't even turn off the Wi-Fi. You know, it's like, oh, if it's not my idea, okay? And understand, do you know how many women struggle to come to our courses because the men try to hold the purse strings and won't give them the money? Or how many women are suffering needlessly, okay, because of pelvic rot? I said pelvic rot. Because of pelvic infection that goes inflammation, which goes to mutation. And understand something. Men don't get it. If they don't experience it, they don't understand it. So they just shut down on it. Okay, here we go. Female hysteria was once a common medical diagnosis for women, which was described as exhibiting a wide array of symptoms. Oh, now love this. Let me tell you something. Okay, so if you were a woman and you had anxiety, now remember, who got to decide whether you had anxiety? Well, it was your husband, or it was a medical doctor, and it was probably a man. Okay, where do you think manipulation word came from? Sorry, guys, I'm not trying to pick on you, but, you know, we were pretty narrow-minded, and I wouldn't say that we're the most open-minded today either, okay? All right. Shortness of breath. Well, first of all, anxiety. Okay, men don't have anxiety? Oh, they don't have hysteria? Oh, anybody who has anxiety is just telling a trauma story over and over to themselves again, putting themselves in a sympathetic state. Fight, fright, flight. And when you're in fight, fright, flight, you're going to create anxiety, because how many people, how many women, how many men are fearful? False evidence appearing real. Got to be ready. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So here we go. So anxiety's one. Oh, hysteria. Okay. How about shortness of breath? Well, whenever you get fearful, you're going to have quick and shallow breathing, because you're hiding underneath the bush from the tiger with no teeth. See, in reality, we're never supposed to be under trauma stress or in the sympathetic for more than 3 minutes. Did you get that? Or it actually does damage to the human body. Meanwhile, the last 3 years, most people never came out of it. They were just dripping adrenaline continually. Now, here's the deal. The human body can only take dumping adrenaline for 3 minutes. Why? Well, it's really quite logical, because if there was a real tiger that had real teeth, you were either going to be in the cave where he couldn't get in, or up the tree. You only have 3 minutes, and then your kibbles, okay? Your kibbles for the cat, okay? All right. So shortness of breath was one. Fainting. Oh my God. Well, wouldn't want to faint. Oh my God. Then that would be hysteria. Okay. Nervousness. Well, like you've never been nervous? All right. Sexual desire was hysteria. Oh, really? Well, that would be women having sexual desire when the men didn't want to have or make love. There you go. Honey, leave me alone. Leave me alone, honey. Oh my God. You got to. So what do you do? What do you do with a dog or, you know, I had a stallion. Okay. When I was younger, I had a stallion as a pony. And my father said, this stallion is too aggressive for you. And he had the stallion castrated to calm the stallion down. Are you get where I'm going? Okay. And then the other thing is that we know that they'll do that, and we call that to spade a dog, right? To calm the dog down so he's not aggressive. Okay. Whether it's female or male, you could be castrated or spaded. And that's called, that would be called a hysterectomy, kind of, right? Right? Dumb everything down. Okay. Hang in here with me. Shortness of breath, fainting, nervousness, sexual desire, insomnia. Oh my God. So guess how many people today have insomnia? So you're lucky you weren't back then and had insomnia. You'd be in big trouble. Okay. All right. Fluid retention. Well, do you know why you have fluid retention? Okay. First of all, just know this. The only time that we would call in the fire department, okay, because they have the water, is when the body has inflammation. And the inflammation is caused from the infection. And the infection could have been emotional or physical because it's called issues in your tissues. Should dog owners not fix their pets? We're not talking about dogs today. If you want to fix your pet, you go right ahead. What we're talking about is we're talking about women. We're going to stop fixing them. Oh, wait a minute, we should fix them by loving them, caring for them, and understanding them instead of just being annoyed by them and going to the chop shop. What do you think? Okay, let me tell you something. Men have only 2 bells or whistles, and a woman has 20 of them. And so we would thought they were neurotic, psychotic. We thought they had hysteria. We thought that, oh, well, shut her down, shut her down. You know what? I'm telling you, in my day, women need to know their place. And children should be seen and not heard. And women would speak second. Don't speak out of turn, okay? All right? Sexual desire, insomnia, fluid retention, we talked about that. Heaviness in the abdomen. Well, you're going to have, who hasn't got heaviness in the abdomen? Anybody see the beach balls walking around lately, or the people where their tummies are hanging down and out? For a woman to get constipated, it's not a really good thing. That's called pooping in the pelvis. But everybody's doing it. Babies are doing it even when they're in their mother's womb still. And that's why babies have complications. That's why they have mutations. And doctors don't want to talk about it. The medical system doesn't want to talk about it. But understand something. If the parents or the couple that are having the child do not understand unconditional love for themselves and each other, they terrorize themselves and each other through the whole pregnancy. And then, oh yeah, and everybody eats such a good diet. Yeah, are we like kidding ourselves? Seriously? Okay. If I ask anybody, do you have a good diet? Well, sure I do, compared to everybody else around the table. Really? Okay. That's only reason why 86 to 92% of the population has an autoimmune disease. 85% of the population in United States and Canada have adult onset diabetes. 50% of teenagers have it. 20% of young children have an inflamed liver. Are we done yet? Okay. I'm just trying to tell you that guess what? This can change just like this with a perfect day. And I'm telling you, a perfect day from the moment you rise until you close your eyes. And you go, oh, here comes a sales pitch from Dr. Wolf. Well, then just go to my library and learn everything you need. It's free. Go log in at dodlibrary.com. It's the greatest self-healing, self-loving library in the world. Anyways, let's keep going here because there's a lot I want to talk about here, okay? Heaviness in the abdomen, irritability. Well, who doesn't have that? Okay. Loss of appetite. Well, you're going to have loss of appetite when you're totally stressed out because you shouldn't eat when you're stressed out. And when you eat when you're stressed out, guess what? You don't digest it and it rots. Doesn't matter if it's organic. Doesn't matter if you try to chew it. If you're stressed out, you're not going to do it. And I'll tell you why. Because 70% of your energy goes from your core, which is your abdomen area and your chest area, and goes to your arms and legs. So there's not enough energy to digest the food, so it's going to rot anyway. So you don't eat when you're stressed out. But meanwhile, that was called hysteria for women. But if a man got stressed out, it wasn't hysteria. He was just doing his job. Well, he's stressed out because he pays the mortgage. Yeah, I got it. Okay. I'm just trying to tell you something. 5,000 years ago, government and religion came together. And if you don't believe me, I have it in I Am Woman in my library at docofdetox.com. And I'll show you the whole history of how government and religion said all we got to do is get man and woman to come against each other and we can win the day. We can enslave them. We can own them. I'm not talking about all religion. I'm not talking about every government, but I'm saying that was a consensus back then. And if you don't believe me, it's documented. So you can say BS to you, Daryl, or Dr. Wolf, or quack or jerk, whatever. But the reality is guess what? Do your research. That's what I tell everyone. Go back and do your research. People will come on here and go, oh, that's not true. You better go do your research. And I'm going to say to you, go do your own research. I don't care if you believe me or not. And I really do not care if you believe me or not, because most people aren't going to believe me because it comes up against their belief systems. Anytime that anything comes up against somebody's belief systems, if they're not open-minded and open to change 1% every day, they're just going to not know it and subconsciously, unconsciously go like this, shut up, Daryl. And I get it, but I'm not going to shut up. Okay. Loss of appetite for food or sex. Well, I mean, who really feels like doing that when we're all stressed out? Sexually forward. Oh, if a woman was sexually forward, she was in a hysteria. I'm not making this up. I mean, you can go see it. It's in Wikipedia. And a tendency to cause trouble for others. Oh yeah, remember that. Go back and watch the old shows. Get back there and watch the ones that just when color TV came out, okay? And the black and white ones, okay? All right? Okay. And when you see the black and white shows, you're not going to see a lot of renegade women, okay? All right? There was a few, all right? Its diagnosis and treatment were routine for hundreds of years in Western Europe. And they changed that because it was also in North America as well, guys, okay? And in Western medicine. There you go. Hysteria was considered both common and chronic among women. Whoa, wouldn't want that. Even though it was categorized, and this is when women were just trying to, for God's sakes, let me be something for God's sakes. Okay? Why don't you just listen to me? Why don't you respect me? Why don't you honor me? Okay, why don't you open up your heart and let me in? Why can't we talk? No, because you squawk, woman. Okay, all right. Even though it was categorized as a disease, hysteria symptoms were synonymous with normal functioning female sexuality. You see? Okay. In extreme cases, the women may have been forced to enter an insane asylum. Yeah, you keep your mouth shut. Or to undergo surgical hysterectomy. All right, so understand something. They're not getting away with that anymore. And the reality is this, and just do me a favor, do your own homework and go into Watch I Am Woman. And you men out there that are, narrow thinking, just understand, go and read it and understand something right now. This stuff still goes on today. And remember something, in the medical system, is it man run or woman run? And it'll never be woman run because women come from the heart. They are caregivers, and you've got to have a lot more men, okay, than you ever have women, because you need to keep it more masculine and more without the feeling, without the heart, okay? Now, Lorraine did something this morning. It's called Part 1 Hysterectomy. I'm going to play it now for you, and then I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to take each little piece and coming from a chauvinistic male point of view, that's what I'll do. And we'll talk about this, okay? 1 second.
So one of the stats that I found out that was hysterectomy is the second most common surgery performed on women.
Okay. Hysterectomy is the second most common surgery performed on women. And guess what? Just as cars rust, women rot out. And let me tell you something. If you can't deal with emotional issues, you're going to bury them in your tissues. And each emotional issue is going to go to the origin or the part of the body that has the same frequency or vibration. Okay, just like heart disease, okay? Heart disease, all right? Heart disease is the main killer on the planet. And the only reason it's the main killer is because, guess what? We don't have very good relationships with ourselves. We don't. How often do you compromise your relationship with your body to actually eat, drink, and do things that are disrespectful and harmful to your body? Seriously, I'm mindful of that. I'm more mindful of that more than I've ever been in my whole life. And you better get that, okay? So understand this, the heart is the recorder of your emotional, okay? So don't think that these women didn't have heart problems too, but they were going hysterical because they just wanted to be with a man that would allow them to speak and come from a deeper place. And if you can't speak, you got to suppress your emotions. And if you're going to suppress your emotions, you're going to bury them where nobody's going to look. And that would be in the manure pile of your large intestine, which, guess what? The majority of the population today is worse conditioned than ever before in the whole history of pooping in your pelvis. You know, people, they don't even know that is, pooping in your pelvis is the main condition that causes the rotting out of many different parts from your toes to your nose in your body. And the reality is this. So she said that hysterectomies are the second most done surgery. Well, understand this. You are not having you're not having surgery, okay, in your pelvic bowl, okay, and having a hysterectomy unless you had infection first. How did you get the infection in the pelvic bowl? How did you get the infection in your uterus, your fallopian tubes, your ovaries? How did you do that? How did you do that? How did it get there? Well, it got there on an invisible, which means you were bearing emotions in your pelvic bowl because things you can't talk about, things you can't work with, you push them down. I shove them down. That's why we feel like we want to throw up sometimes. Now, so the reality is we don't just have that, but we also know that people who think they're eating right, which is 99 out of 100 people, are not eating right, not eating healthy, because we've never been so sick on this planet. Meanwhile, we've never had so many health practitioners, and most people don't even know what they're talking about, because you got to look at the emotional issues, not just the physical issues. Now, so understand something. You are rotting out. I don't care if you've got sinusitis, okay, or you got vaginitis, okay, because you got inflammation, because you got infection. And to have infection anywhere, it's got to be bad bacteria, fungus, or worms. Okay, and then if you're full of fungus, then you're going to have a lot of heavy metal poisoning. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be going through, we're doing what we call the heavy metal parasite sale. And I do have the best parasite heavy metal worm cleanse in the world. And you don't go and wait until you're full of worms and heavy metals and bad bacteria and then you go and do a cleanse. You do something gentle every day so you never get yourself into an emergency. Most of the people in the natural health field are still doing the I'll treat you. And I don't want to treat anymore. I want to train you. I want to train you to be the practitioner, the master of your body, the master of your mind. Okay? So understand something. The only reason why you get hysterectomies is because you have infection in your pelvic bowl. Infection creates inflammation. Inflammation creates scar tissue formation. And if that inflammation continues, you will have water retention. So now you're puffy down there because you've got to dilute the fire, baby. And guess what? If it continues, you're going to pull calcium from your hip bones, from your pelvic bones, and from your spine. That's why you will find out that anybody that's had a hysterectomy, anybody that's had any surgery in their lower abdomen has low back pain because of the calcium being pulled from the L3, L4, L5 vertebrae, because the scar tissue, because of the tendons and ligaments around the vertebrae are actually being dehydrated due to the inflammation, and that makes them into beef jerky. So you don't have that freedom of motion. So you're getting beef jerky around your spine, you're getting it in your pelvis too. So you're going to have calcium deposits, you're going to have crystallization, you're going to have scar tissue formation. I say to people, aging, so I age every day, but does it look like I'm really aging? Okay, so I'm getting older, but I'm not getting old. I'm not getting stiff. I don't have pain in my body. I don't have swelling in my body. I don't have any type of dis-ease. I'm at ease, thank you very much. Both my parents passed away at before 55 of cancer. My father had a triple bypass heart surgery. I already know why, because of his emotions. He was never able to really show us love or show himself love. But the reality is we're never going to talk about that, are we? Okay? Because guess what? We don't want to get to the root of everything. So hysterectomies are the second leading cause of surgery for women. Ready?
The first is actually C-sections.
The first is actually C-sections. Now, I just want to thank all the doctors for doing C-sections, because there is a lot of babies that probably would not have made it, or women that would not have made it. Now, the only reason why, the only reason why this is happening is because of diet. Your diet's a riot, okay? If you're eating a diet that's called a good diet or the normal diet, then you're in big trouble already. And the reality is, if you go to my library, this isn't a sales pitch, go to my library and take a look at the 4 pillars of the perfect day. And understand something. I believe in a whole plant-based keto diet, okay? I don't eat animal products. And understand, I'm not some weakling, okay? I'm not a weakling. I use no weights. I don't go running for miles and pounding the pavement, okay? Every exercise I do, I only need a rug on the floor because I don't want to do it on the cement. And that's all I need to work out. I use my own body weight, and I lengthen, strengthen, detox, and tone my body. And I can show everybody how to do that, and I will. But I want to tell you that I don't think I'm smart. I just think I'm logical. And the reality is I want to hack everything that's going to give me just the most beautiful, amazing life. And I want to share that with everyone else, and that's it. Now, the cesareans, well, they're very convenient, aren't they? And if you get a cesarean, just understand something. Does everybody understand this? And you better get this. Oh, and I'm willing to be challenged. My phone number is 469-861-8884. And I don't want to be challenged where you call and yell at me. I want you to challenge me and tell me you want to come on a show, and you want to challenge me that way. And I mean it. I'm not going to reject you. Okay, but I want you to come on the show, and I want you to come on with some logic, and I want you to come on in a loving way so that we can learn from each other and we can grow. Maybe you can enlighten me here. But the reality is this: surgery causes more scar tissue than anything else in human life. Okay, now understand this. Okay, the longer the cut and the deeper it goes, the more scar tissue. Do you know how traumatic that is to your body? Let me tell you something. I'm going to ask you a question. How important is community to you? How important is community to you? It's very important to me. But what you don't get is, and nobody's ever told you, the most important community is called 500 trillion bacteria and 50 trillion cells that love you. And they're all coming together to give you this vessel that, you know, that your spirit will be flowing through and in for as long as you want to look after it. So the most important community is all the cells and the bacteria that make up what we call the human body. And the reality is, you will never disrespect that. You will never disrespect a community more than that community, and you are programmed to do it. Now, so we know that cesareans, okay, are the most common surgery. They're very convenient. You're going to have to take drugs when you get the surgery. You're going to have to take drugs after the surgery. We know that after you have a cesarean or you even have a hysterectomy, well, if after a hysterectomy, you've got a block of scar tissue down in your pelvis. Okay, whether it's a partial or it's not a partial, it's a full one, you've got a block of scar tissue. Okay, let me just put it this way. Any sports injury, any car accident, or any surgery that you ever have, okay? If you don't have Wolf Non-Surgical, and this isn't a pitch, I'll give you a money-back guarantee that will blow your mind on one treatment. If you don't have Wolf Non-Surgical, where we use our elbow, we go on a 45-degree angle, we pull the fibers apart, the scar tissue fibers, they're dehydrated, beautiful connective tissue that gets dehydrated and it gets really tight. So let me just explain this. Okay, I'm here to give a real training today, okay? And that's what I want to do. And that's this. Let's call this beautiful connective tissue. You've got your spirit, your blood, your lymph, and it's flowing through. All the fibers are getting nourished, and they're all detoxifying properly like they should. Now what happens is guess what? Now you get stressed out. You go into fight or flight. You go into contraction. When you go into contraction and you don't relax, put your fist like this and keep your fist shut as long as you can. Try to open it up in 10 minutes. Okay? And guess what? You can barely open it up because it's so tight because you cut off the oxygen, you cut off the flow. Now, when you do that, so when you get surgery, you're going to have all this scar tissue come in because I just told you, the deeper the cut, the longer the cut, the more traumatic it is, the more inflammation, and every one of those cells, did you know that every cell has a brain, has a digestive tract, has a spine, it has everything that the human body has, and it has emotion. So whatever drama that you have emotionally, if you've had one physically, you should be stroking it and putting things on like the C60, or putting silver bullet gel on, or putting on lavender, or muscle restore, or pain away, or frankincense on a continual basis. Not once a day. How about a dozen times a day to bring up the frequency so the scar tissue and down the inflammation so you don't have all that scar tissue formation. They don't teach you this. And you know, people that sell essential oils will put it on once. Well, we don't do that. We front end load. When you're in trauma, or you have had a surgery, or you've got something you want to heal, you want to front end load. Okay? And that's the most important thing that you ever want to know. So remember this. Surgery causes more scar tissue than anything else. Now, guess what? Does anybody know where most of the scar tissue is? It's in your abdomen. Does anybody know that your abdomen, okay, creates 85% of your energy and stores it there if you don't have a bunch of physical blocks? Did you know that every time that you eat and you bloat, or you have cramping, you have spasms, you have pain, or you feel like you're tied up in knots, these are adhesions growing. Every time you have gas, every time you have inflammation, every time you have spasms and you have contraction, you're creating more scar tissue formation. And these adhesions are like bands. So you've got scar tissue in here. You'll have adhesions in you even if you don't have surgery. So understand that. And those bands of adhesions, they wrap themselves around your small intestine, large intestine. Oh yeah. Now let's say that I had a cesarean, okay, and I had a cut from my pubic bone all the way up to my sternum. Well, just understand something. I'm going to grow 2 to 3 inch feeders. That's right. They're like legs off of that scar tissue. They wrap themselves around your small intestine, large intestine, around your ovaries, around your uterus. Okay, I don't know why, but I can't pee properly anymore. I don't know why, but it's painful when I make love. I can't digest my food anymore. I can't poop properly anymore. Okay, when I move, I feel like there's a rope in here tying me in knots. Okay, I don't know why, but I've got heartburn all the time. I don't know why, but I can't seem to want to eat anymore. Well, the reality is that if you've got blocks in your digestive tract, don't you think the highwaymen are going to try to shut off your eating? What do you want to do? Just pile up food and rot inside of you? Let me tell you something right now. If you don't know about the ultimate coffee enema, if you don't know about daily cleansing tea and black gold, those 3 things, they'll more than save your life. They'll change your life. They'll make your life. Listen, I don't mind people calling me up or calling me down, you know, if I'm lying or exaggerating something. But the reality is if you knew how to create the perfect day on an emotional and physical level, and I'm not telling you to spend your money with me, just learn, take all my information and do whatever you want. I will tell you, I've done more research than most clinics in the world, and people who have the best products in the world come to me, and whether you want to believe that or not, because they know that I will not disrespect, dilute the product, and I will hold the line. So, you know, take it or leave it, but here's the deal. I already told you surgery causes more scar tissue than anything else. And if you've had a cesarean from here to here, you're going to have these roots come off, which are called adhesions, wrapping around like a snake choking. If you've had it from hip to hip, well then guess what? Good luck with your pelvic girdle. Good luck with down there. You're waddling like a duck right now. And because every time that you you have any type of infection that creates inflammation that causes scar tissue formation, you're pulling calcium from the bones. I'm going to tell you something right now, and you can believe it or not believe it, but I'm going to tell you right here. 95 to 98% of all hip surgeries, all low back surgeries, and all knee surgeries, unless you were in a car accident or a sports injury, was actually caused from pooping in your pelvis. And I would love to have a really professional person come on and do a show and challenge me on this. I will have all my charts up, and they can bring their charts, and then they can tell me why I'm wrong. This is not to create quarreling or squabbling. This is to bring it out to all the people that have been ruled and screwed over. That's it. Let me tell you something right now. The majority of the population needs to know, okay, needs to know that they've been screwed over. And somebody's got to tell them. You know, there's a lot of practitioners out there. They go to work, they do their thing. They treat people well. Training people is what we need to do. And we need to give people back their power. All right? Let's keep going.
And 1/3 of women, by the time they are 60, will have had a hysterectomy.
Oh, do you know why 1/3 of women, by the time they're 60, will have a hysterectomy? Do you know why? And then I want you to go back 50 years and find out how many hysterectomies were done, and you'll find out that they weren't done hardly at all. 50 years. You need to do that. And I'm going to tell you something. My mother had a hysterectomy. Okay, she had ovarian cancer, and my mother was rotting out. She never stopped complaining about her bowels. Don't tell me. My grandfather had colon cancer. Okay, and colon cancer is the fastest growing cancer today, and that's because people are rotting out. Cars rust, people rot, cars rust, people rot, and guess what? And people have stinking thinking because they've been programmed to disrespect, dishonor themselves and each other. Thank you to the psychos. But understand something, I'm not going to blame them because guess what? We could have came together as a loving family here instead of trying to tear each other down on a continual basis. But the reality is this. My mother went through tons of suffering, and I didn't know it, but she was always getting bloated. She didn't know why, but if I looked at her diet, you know, the dairy, the bread, the animal products, we didn't eat a lot of salads. We didn't do any blender drinks. We didn't do any juicing. Whether you believe it or not, okay, I am 20 times more healthier than my parents ever could have been. You know, you can say that, oh my God, we got the chemtrails, we got the poison in the air and the water and the food. Well, guess what? Today you can eat and be healthier than ever in your whole life. Are you willing to take total responsibility from the moment you rise until you close your eyes? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to become the practitioner for you and your family? Are you willing to say, I'm going to go get my doctorate in natural medicine with Dr. Wolf. I'm going to go get my indigenous doctorate with Dr. Wolf. I'm going to go and take a whole life coach course, or at least a Braveheart Circle for 4 days, and start learning something about loving and caring for myself, for God's sakes, and stop trying to attack myself. Anyways, 60 years old, guess what? She's rotted out. That's right. Almost every woman is rotted out in their pelvis by the time they're 60. And understand something right now. If you don't believe me, take a look at all the complications women are having babies. And understand something right now. That baby, okay, when that spirit is infused into the womb and then it starts to become a physical thing, all right, it's in the middle of either a garden, because guess what? Depending on what the woman eats, will depend on whether or not she is actually feeding the compost, which is the large intestine, properly to create good bacteria, or she's creating fungus, parasites, and bad bacteria. And that's why we have our parasite cleanse starting on Monday. Okay, and the reality is our parasite and heavy metal fungal cleanse is not something you do every 3 months or 4 months or 6 months. It's something you gently do every day so you never ever have to deal with it. Why? I don't know why people allow themselves to get sick, to run to the rescue to get well. That's the same as the medical system, right? Isn't it? It's the same as the medical system. We may be natural health, but we're not functional. You're not a functional medicine doctor unless you, okay, are teaching people how to. look after themselves, and they never ever have to run to you again. You heard what I said. Emergency health should be for emergencies only. Okay, let's keep going. So, here we go.
500,000 women in the United States yearly have a hysterectomy.
I just want to thank all you women for being a cash cow. That's right. They're selling you off by the pound. So now you get infection from pooping in your pelvis because you dishonor this 4 inches, because you've been sold what we call the standard American diet. Okay, and we also know that 96% of all the food in a grocery store is toxic. Only 4% isn't. We know that even when toxicity, that a health food store can be around 60 or 70% toxic. Oh yeah, health food, junk food. I'm not trying to put it down, guys. Let all that stuff be there because people are always going to eat it anyways. And the reality is this, but it's too easy to program a human being into a human doing. So you did hear what she said, right? 600,000 women in the United States have given up their uterus, their fallopian tubes, and their ovaries. And understand this right now. They didn't have to. They rotted out. They rotted out. How did they rot out? Well, they had to be infected. How did they get infected? Well, they got infected from pooping in the pelvis. And you can take it or leave it. What do you think leaky gut is? It's not leaky gut. It's leaky large intestine. It's a screen door in a submarine. And understand something. You think I'm lying? Then why do women have vaginitis? Why do they have fungus in their vaginal canal? Why do they have bladder infections? Oh, really? Oh, the bladder infections are from what? E. coli. And where's E. coli coming from? Well, you pooped in your pelvis, and then that went to be purified through the kidneys. And guess what? The sediment, when it was coming through the bladder, settled to the bottom of the bladder. And because it's infected the bladder, it inflamed the bladder, and then the bladder closes down on itself, and then you have trouble urinating. Tell me I'm right or wrong. By the time you're 50, 60 years old, you walk to the bathroom at nighttime 4 to 6 times, and a little bit comes out of, and you go, wow, that's a bummer. Well, that's the reality, is because when something's inflamed and infected and closing down, it's not going to hold a lot of urine, and if it stretches the bladder at all, it hurts and it's painful. Yes or no? Yes or no? I just want logic. Let's just have some logic. Okay, let's not have this BS stuff like arthritis, which just means inflammation of the joint, or colitis, which means inflammation of your bowel because of constipation, or sinusitis because you eat too much dairy and you've created fungus in the sinuses called a cave. Ear infections, sinuses in the fungus in the cave. You heard? That's what I'm telling you. It is. So let's just get rid of all the BS for today, okay? All right, let's go.
Most of the women who are having a hysterectomy are anywhere between 40 and 50. That's the majority.
40 or 50, you've already rotted out, okay? Don't tell me that your vaginal canal does not smell. Don't tell me that you haven't had halitosis. Don't tell me that your armpits don't smell. You could put your nose right into my armpit and you're not going to smell anything. You can put your nose into the average person's armpit and it smells like poo. Oh, why? Well, because you were pooping in your pelvis and you were filling up from the bottom up, from the inside out. Thank you very much. And guess what? Where do you think breast problems come from? The ovaries are always in trouble before the breasts are in trouble. And why don't you check that out and see if I'm wrong? Okay? So understand something. It's like you go to the fair, you take this hammer, you hit down on that thing, and it goes ding. Well, that's because the ovaries were in trouble, and then ding, so are the bells up here. And guess what? Just so you know, ladies, you keep on pooping in your pelvis, and all that infection comes in. Remember something, people aren't overweight. They're not fat. They're inflamed. So understand, fat cells are made to hold inflammation and infection. And cellulite is old fat that's very toxic, no oxygen, no nutrition, no proper detoxification. That's what cellulite is. And understand, if you're exhausted or you're stressed out, your body can't make fat cells. And it says, wow, we got 2 storage tanks up here. And the infection gets sent up to there. So once they get infected, they get inflamed. You will start getting scar tissue. You will start getting cysts in your breasts. And cysts are just pus sackets of bad bacteria and dying cells. And then what happens, then you'll start getting calcium deposits that are coming from your ribs, your clavicle. Are you ready for that? Now you're getting osteoporosis of your sternum and your ribs because the calcium's going inside the breast tissue because it's the last stage before you go into stage 3 or 4, inflammation they call cancer. So you get calcification to try to alkaline the tissues to stop the mutation, because if we can alkaline the tissues, we can hold the oxygen levels high enough that the normal cells do not have to mutate into a cancer cell, because a cancer cell is a cell that is 35% lack of oxygen for more than 3 days. Welcome to Dr. Otto Warburg that received the Nobel Prize for that. Okay.
Some women will opt to have a hysterectomy and a tummy tuck at the same time, and
it's over. So now she's got a tummy tuck. Whoa, the scar tissue from that. Ask any woman who's had a tummy tuck. Now I'm going to tell you something right now. I'll give you a money-back guarantee. I'm going to be in Bonita, Florida here for another month. And my son, Dr. Sage Wolf, and some of our master trainers. And we'll give you a money-back guarantee that if you feel like the scar tissue is an issue, everybody, there's no surgery. Any surgery you got, I don't care if you got the surgery 50 years ago, it's going to turn on you and put you into a nursing home or get you into a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. It's going to get you buying Depends because you're going to be crapping or peeing your pants. And just know this, 50% of all women are dripping into their panties because their pelvis is actually rotting out. Okay? So the thing is people say, oh, Dr. Wolf, he doesn't talk very nice. Well, I don't talk like any other doctor because I'm here to wake up the people that want to wake up, which are a very small percentage. But those people, let me tell you something. There is no better feeling than knowing that I have taken some woman, okay, that has been suffering day in and day out, because when you're in pain, you can't have a beautiful life. You cannot have a creative life. You cannot have the life that God gave us. And the reality is if just one woman watches this and she says, that's it, massive personal action. I am not listening to the bullshit anymore about what doctors say, or functional medicine, health doctors, some of them. And I'm not going to listen to Fred or the TV or the radio. I'm going to listen to my heart, to my soul, to my spirit.
Almost 40% of women were not offered alternative treatments prior to having their hysterectomy.
Understand this. You take drugs to numb out the pain. I hope you know the inflammation doesn't go away. Your body doesn't record the inflammation anymore. It's shut off from the brain. So when you take drugs, okay, anti-inflammatories and anti-pain medication, you're not feeling it. It didn't take it away. It blocked it so you didn't feel it. And that's why when you take drugs, okay, you're going to have a surgery to get a block of scar tissue taken away, about the size of a burger or bigger, maybe a roast. And the reality is guess what? Because you were roasted. You were roasted because you shut off your emotional part of you, which is pain is a GPS that tells you you're in trouble or not. And what happens is if I were to put a burger on the barbecue and I forget it, and the flame is on, it doesn't have to be high. It's going to dehydrate it. That beautiful burger, it could have been organic. It could have been so tender and juicy. And now it's just a piece of beef jerky. And that's exactly what you're dealing with. So now you got a piece of beef jerky. And guess what? That's a physical block. Now your spirit energy, your blood energy, your lymph energy wants to move around, and it can't move around, and you're all stiff. So they go, well, if you're stiff, we got to cut out that beef jerky that was created by taking the drugs, by numbing you out, but the inflammation never left. So now that burger is just a piece of beef jerky. Now, believe it or not, they can tell you that you're bone on bone, or they can tell you you've got a fibroid this big in your neck or in your breast, and guess what? Anything that you created, you can reverse. But you're going to have to believe it to achieve it. If you don't believe it, then go get the surgery. I'm not going to try to talk anybody out of surgery. Just keep on cutting pieces out. But the reality is you were created by God Almighty, and you've got so much spirit energy as soon as you love, honor, and respect yourself. And believe it or not, it's only 1 out of 10,000 people totally love, honor, and respect themselves. And that's what Jesus was here to do, was teach unconditional love. Okay? All right? So understand this, that if you could perfect the unconditional love thing, you are going to be attacked, and people are going to tell you you're selfish, because now you're looking after yourself more than the majority of the population, which would make you selfish, wouldn't it? Well, no, it wouldn't. It would just make you centered into yourself enough not to get yourself into trouble.
So the reasons for having a hysterectomy would be abnormal bleeding, uterine prolapse, fibroids.
Okay, so know this. Abnormal bleeding. Well, there is no such thing as abnormal bleeding. So, you know, I tell everyone, you go to the doctor, do whatever you need to do, because you need to feel confident. You don't believe in me, okay? And I always say this, if it was me, or if it was my daughter, or if it was my wife, this is what I would say, and that's how I talk. But the reality is, if you understood Chinese medicine, which is a lot older than Western medicine, please help me. It's 10,000 years old. Anytime that you have excessive bleeding somewhere from the body, and I'm not talking about a knife cut or a car accident, okay, I'm talking about the body's trying to throw off the worst infection and inflammation. When a woman is bleeding vaginally and it won't stop, it's because it's in crisis. That means her detoxification organs are not working well enough. That means that she's suppressing emotional issues down in her tissues. That means that she's infected from her diet. That means that her digestive tract is one bumpy highway, okay? Lots of potholes, okay? Do you understand? Okay, so you have to understand this, that antibiotics could save a life in a life-threatening situation, but if you're taking antibiotics and it's not a life-threatening situation, then you're going to have pinholes through your intestines, because that's what it causes. Because antibiotics turn on what we call the death vibe. They make the yeast into fungus, and the fungus are drill bit predators, and they drill holes through your large intestine, and then you get systemic candidiasis, which is fungus throughout the body. And one of the worst conditions of that is where you see people with toe fungus. Well, that is a precancerous state. Okay, that means they have fungus throughout their whole body. And you're never going to get rid of the toe fungus until you repair the large intestine. Let's keep going.
Cancer, pelvic pain.
So if you have too much pelvic pain, you'll probably want to cut that out. But remember something, pain is a GPS telling you the rate of infection that's in there on an emotional and physical level. So you could reduce that, but you're going to have to have a different personality. You're going to have strategies. You're going to have tools. Now, where are you going to get them from? Because we're not taught that, are we? Okay?
Could be caused by endometriosis or an unsuccessful.
Okay, endometriosis. Let's just get this perfectly clear. Endometriosis is like a webbing of scar tissue all throughout your pelvis. Now, how did you get the scar tissue? Well, the scar tissue was actually created. Remember what we told you? Infection, inflammation, scar tissue. So that's somebody who's been just dripping infection into their pelvis continually from that weakened large intestine. Okay, now, so we got to get in there, and I would tell you right now that you need to be on daily cleansing tea, you need to be on black gold right away. You need to look at doing the ultimate coffee enema, and then you need to look at vaginal infusions. If you did that and you did that hardcore, you'd be like, oh my God, this is a bloody miracle. This is a miracle. And just know this, I didn't take hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, or even $1,000 from you to get you to do this, because this is just you taking massive personal action and saying, okay, I'll take the time, because if it came to anyone else that was in this much pain, I'd be there helping them. But why can't I help myself? Well, you've been taught that that would be selfish, okay?
Successfully treated pelvic inflammation disease.
Pelvic inflammation
disease.
It
A partial hysterectomy where they just take the uterus only.
So they're going to just take the uterus if it's rotting away, which is true. They'll take the ovaries if they are too. If the ovaries are have tons of cysts on them. But if it wasn't for the cysts on the ovaries, you would have had maybe stage 3 or 4 inflammation on it. You wouldn't like that, would you? So those cysts are actually collecting the pus, which is the bad bacteria and the cell death that was happening because of the cells couldn't live in a swamp anymore of infection. And understand something, what came first? Was it the swamp or the mosquito? Well, the swamp came first. And the reality is I am right, and I'm not challenging anyone, and I don't want to get into an argument. And if somebody wants to challenge me and go on live on one of my shows, I'll do that. But let's just keep it really highly intelligent. That would be really cool and logical. Okay, thank you.
Or it can be a complete hysterectomy, where they take the uterus, the cervix, and the fallopian tubes.
So I just want to say this, that whether you want to believe this or not, most of the women that cannot have children right now, the actual fallopian tubes are getting scar tissue in them from the infection to the inflammation and calcification, and that can all be reversed. Isn't it amazing how we could even be in a life-threatening situation and we could reverse it? And understand something, and this is not me trying to attack the medical system, but they sell what they sell, I sell what I sell. But understand, so far I've hardly sold anything. I had to bring up some products, and I know there'll be some people on here saying, oh, he's just trying to sell products, he's whatever he is. The reality is we have to. But I will tell you this, I carry the best of products, and whatever I do carry, it's the best in the world. And I make sure of it, because a guy like me with a mouth like me gets attacked like not once a day, but it could be many times a day. Hey, Lori?
Yes.
Yeah, it's continual. And I'm okay with that because, you know, if you give the world something different and they're not ready for something different, then they're going to tell you don't know what you're talking about. And God knows, maybe I don't.
The number one reason for having the hysterectomy is fibroids. Side effects. So side effects can be...
Understand something, everyone. A fibroid can happen anywhere, okay? And it can. It's just a big mass of scar tissue. And if it was highly inflamed area, it'll be scar tissue and calcium. Why? Well, because the calcium had to go there because did you want cancer, which is a highly inflammatory situation. And you know, I did this in the airport, and it's called Refresh and Fly, and it was about Coke. And I have so many people coming on and saying cancer is not inflammation. And they think it's a genetic thing, but it's not. And I don't want to get into a fight with them. I just tell them, you know, go to my library and watch The Emotional Chemistry of Cancer, Disease, and Healing, the biggest cancer research I think that's ever been done. They did what was called the Genome Project, and it took millions of dollars of taxpayers' money to prove that genetics were all diseases, and they found out it was none of them. And so guess what? Did they tell you that? No. Did they give you back your tax money? No, they didn't. So you know what? For me to have people attack me, it's just quite all right. I love them anyway, okay?
The blood clots, loss of blood.
Okay, guys. If your pelvis becomes a swamp and your blood becomes thick with toxins, what, you don't think it's going to clot up if there's not a lot of oxygen in your blood? Okay, if the blood platelets all get sticky because your sticky, glicky diet and your sticky, glicky poop. I mean, I gotta get it out. Ooh, it won't come out. Ooh. You know, you gotta drink 3/4 of an ounce of structured warm water. That's the best way to go, to hot water, for every pound. That's 3/4 of an ounce. And understand something, if you want to drink less, you go right ahead, but just remember about the 5G and the blue light. It's really messing you up. And it better be structured water, because structured water is the only water that actually pulls out 5G blue light poisoning, okay? Radiation from your blood. Did you hear that? And then people are going to go, I don't believe it. Well, don't believe it. It doesn't matter. I don't care. And structured water has the highest hydration, of nutrition and detoxification on your cells. And structured water also gets rid of all the frequencies and programs, whoever drank it. And even if there's still physical toxic residue in there, because when you structure it, it will get rid of the frequency, which makes it innate. You hear what I said? Innate. If you don't believe me, it just rained here and everything's going to jump up for joy. There'll be no birds, no bees, no flowers, no trees, no bugs that will be harmed because of the chemicals that were put in the sky and the acid rain coming down. Nothing will be harmed because that water was structured. So you can get a Kangen water unit, you can get reverse osmosis, but reverse osmosis, you can't, anybody who drinks reverse osmosis and distilled water, they're in big trouble. That will not hydrate to the cell level, and it takes a lot of energy to structure water because it's a food. Go do some homework. Go into my library and watch the master training on structured water. Okay, just go look at it, and then we'll talk about it if you'd like.
Enough that you might have to have a transfusion. Damage to surrounding areas like bladder, urethra, blood.
Come on, guys. If you're going to have surgery and they get a knife and they cut it in, did you never have even just a sliver? It causes irritation, infection, doesn't it? And you just want it out. Now take a knife and go in there and cut deep and start cutting out vital organs. That's what they are. And you don't think the inflammation is going to spread into the bladder? You don't think the inflammation is going to spread into the hips? You don't think the inflammation is going to spread into L3, L4, or into the coccyx? We hardly know anything about health, and it's not our fault. People are not stupid. School is stupid. Okay? I mean, think about it. The majority of the population goes to a medical doctor that's never, ever studied health. I'm not trying to put them down. I'm just waving to everybody here on Instagram. Got to do my homework here. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Okay. All right. Let's get going.
Vessels and nerves. Blood clots in the legs or lungs.
Really? You actually think that you can cut into the pelvis, take out vital organs, and you're not going to have blood clots in your lungs or your legs? Seriously? You don't even know this. But guess what? Everything from a corn on your toe, okay, to a bunion. Yeah, I know you think it's because of the shoes. And to all kinds of, to fungus in the toes, okay, to even painful feet, okay, or even neuropathy in your lower legs. That's all from your large intestine. Okay.
Infections could be side effects from the anesthetist. Afterwards, after having the hysterectomy, your organs will fill the space, and it's usually the small intestine that fills the space.
Okay, all right. Did you get that? So what I'm trying to tell you is, when you take out these vital organs out of the lower pelvis, like the uterus, the ovaries, okay, fallopian tubes, all right, the small intestine and the large intestine are going to fall down into that area, okay? How many people know here that, ever see the person where it looks like there's this roll and it's hanging down over their belt? Okay. I call this disease the elephant snout. And you'll see it when you go to the mall sometimes. It's where people who are very obese, and I'm not picking on them. I'm trying to show you something. This is teaching you something. Oh my God, he's always picking on people. That's right. That's what they've done. That's what they've done to us. As soon as somebody wants to come out and talk about something, because the suffering has to end, they live off our suffering. And you need to understand that the majority of the population, and I'm talking 99 out of 100 people, will be sold off by the pound, and they will suffer. In the last 15, 20 years of their life, their money will go down the drain, their life will go down the drain, and they won't want to live, and they won't want to die. And understand something. So what people have to say about me cannot matter. Okay, cannot matter. Understand something. the large intestine can fall right out of the core, out of your abdomen, and hang down. And there was a gentleman we just saw, okay? We were up in, let me see, where was I now? Sawgrass Mills. I was just there yesterday. I'm in Florida here. I'm starting a whole life coach course in Bonita, okay, on Wednesday. There's 2 spots left, 2 spots for the Wolf non-surgical certification and 4 for the woman's 3-day pelvic course, which is the most mind-blowing course you'll ever take, women. It's exactly what we're talking about here. So go to braveheartnation.com or bhnuniversity.com. Anyways, this guy's large intestine is hanging right out of his abdomen. And he had a t-shirt on, a big one, and you could see it, and it pink, and it was just hanging about this much farther. And you know what? This was not to be made as a joke. This is like, oh my God. You know, what has happened to people between sexual, physical, emotional abuse all their life? You know, I don't want to get into it all, but understand something. If you don't look at the condition a person's in here, even before the condition they're in here, then you're not a real practitioner, and that's what we teach. You could come and take my course for 23 days. That's how much, well, if you took the pelvic course, women too, it would be like another 4 days because of the day in between. But if you took that course, I promise you that you'll be more intelligent when it comes to natural health and healing than 99% of the practitioners out there. Understand something, there's genius in all of us. The only stupid part is the stupid beliefs we have, okay? Nobody's stupid. There's no idiots out there. There's idiotic beliefs, just like people that have poverty consciousness have poverty beliefs. People that have abundance consciousness have abundance beliefs. They live it, they breathe it. People that are healthy have healthy beliefs. People that are sick have sick beliefs. And they don't even know it. It's not like, oh, I'm running sick beliefs. No, you can't help yourself when you take a look at what everybody eats, drinks, and thinks. You think that this is as good as it gets. Well, it's not.
A lot of people find that they will gain weight, and
most of that weight after you have a hysterectomy is actually water retention due to the inflammation from the surgery. And remember something, if surgery causes more scar tissue, then that would be like a beaver dam, like a block in the body. And understand something, there's nowhere in the body that you don't have pain, that you don't have swelling, that you don't have stiffness, okay, or redness that isn't a physical block. And this is why we teach all these things like pelvic squats, like crab stretch, like clapping, like belly button therapy. I'm going to go through all of these tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm coming on at 10 o'clock. I'll be on for 4 hours straight. And I'm going to be doing a day with the doc at the Crunch Fitness here in Bonita if you want to come live. And the reality is that's the same place we're going to be starting the Whole Life Coach course next Wednesday. And then right after that finishes in 9 days. Then it's the Wolf non-surgical course for 12 days. And then it's the pelvic restoration course for 3 days. And then guess what? The next courses aren't until January in Mexico at the Cala del Mar, a 4-diamond resort. We'll have the Braveheart Circle there. And it's a 4-day course, which everybody should start if you really want to get your life together. Only 4 days. Okay, we can live through that one, can't we? And then 1 day off, and then my Dr. Sage Wolf will be teaching Wolf non-surgical. And we'll give you a money-back guarantee on all these courses. And I'm telling you that. With the Braveheart, we'll go till the first half of the day because it's only 4 days. The Wolf non-surgical will go the whole day, and you can decide for yourself. And we'll give you your money totally back. And remember something, we're not out to take anybody's money. We're out to give more than we deliver. And then there'll be the pelvic course, which is a 3-day course, and you can go till halfway through the day again, and we'll return your money if you want. And understand something, everyone. Until you are going to have enough confidence, okay, to actually start learning how to heal yourself, you're never going to heal. If you were going to heal, you would have been healed already. You do get that, don't you? Stop getting treated, get trained, okay? All right.
I put a note somewhere about why you gained weight, but right now I can't see it. So, yeah, you will gain weight.
Well, again, I told you, it's inflammation, and you've created more physical blocks because surgery causes more scar tissue than anything else. And understand something. Go ahead, get all the surgery you want, but at least go see a Wolf non-surgical therapist. And they're all over the world. And you don't, and don't worry, I won't get any money. They will. And they'll give you a money back guarantee because I guarantee it for them. Did you get that? That when you come to us, even for your first treatment, that we will wow you, okay? And understand something. Do you know why I do that? Well, I'm not getting the money. Why would I do that for them? Because I want to tell the world that they were ruled and screwed. And I want to tell all the body workers out there that they need to take a look at Wolf Non-Surgical, an elbow technique that we use on a 45-degree angle. And guess what? You give me somebody, and why don't you just do this? Why don't you test me? Get me a woman with a fibroid in her breast, or get me a woman with a fibroid in her pelvis, or get me a man with a fibroid. That's fine. I'm into it, otherwise known as a tumor. And then come to Bonita Springs to Crunch Fitness tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And then I'll do my lecture. And then around noon, I will work on that fibroid with Cellsonic, which is the strongest energy medicine device in the world. And we will do Cellsonic on it first, and then I'll do non-surgical. And then the minimum that I will have that fibroid, that tumor come down will be 30%. Is that good enough? How about this? Go take a look at me when I was in Australia. I had 2 women that had tumors about the size of this. Look at this, side of their neck. It took me 20 minutes using a Cellsonic and non-surgical, and the tumors were gone. Okay, and understand, one of the ladies, she texted me, and I can look it up. And she says, Dr. Wolf, they couldn't believe it. They had to test me. They tested me 3 times. They couldn't find the tumor. It was gone. And they thought, where in the heck did it go? Did it sink into my neck? Well, anyways, and then she said, though, but the doctor did say that some of my vertebrae here there was little fractures in my clavicle. And she said, I'm not sure, but when you're working in there doing the non-surgical with your elbow, did you create the fractures? And I said, no, I don't believe I did. But if I did, they were just small ones. It's not a big deal. Fractures heal. And, but the reality is, I told her that the reason why we fracture is because the calcium had to be given up to go to where the tumor site was so that it didn't go and become more inflamed to the point of, you got stage 2, 3, 4 cancer. When it's stage 4 cancer, it's not a great thing. So your body uses calcium to try to actually buffer that down. I hope you guys understand that, okay? All right? Oh my gosh, you want to hear about something? Okay, they're called immortal cells. That's what they call cancer cells because they just keep on living, right? I saw a video, and I'm not going to tell you that I can confirm it yet, but yeah, they actually call them immortal cells that they put to make the what? To make the meat. You know, the genetic meat they're doing in labs? They're using immortal cells because if they just use regular cells, it doesn't grow fast enough. But if they use actual cancer cells, the meat grows really quick. I don't know if that's true, but I'm definitely going to look into that one. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say too, I'm going to come on here tomorrow and I'm going to read something that came from a school in Texas, a friend of mine. It came to her email about her children. And guess what? There's a lot of people saying that on the 4th of October, you got to turn your phones off because they're going to do this pulse magnetic thing through your phone. And anybody that got this, it's going to turn them on. And understand, that's a real science, so believe it or don't believe it. But in this, it actually tells them to not turn off their phones. And I'm going, and people are saying, is this true, Dr. Wolf, about this? And I go, I don't know. First of all, why would the psychos warn us they were going to do something bad to us? They never do they? Well, maybe they have to this time. I don't really know. The reality is that I don't really know, but I am going to get everybody in the course on Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time because it's supposed to happen at 2:22. They're supposed to do this emergency thing on all phones to get everybody to turn their phones off. And I don't need to worry about it because I never did get this. But I guarantee you that there'll be people in the room that would never tell us that probably had it twice or 3 times or 4 times. See, okay? So the reality is I want to just say, welcome to planet Earth, a life-threatening, fun-filled adventure, okay? When you become the master of your mind and your body. And if you don't, then, wow, you'll be ruled and schooled.
You can still have orgasms, but not internal orgasms. So women can have orgasms vaginally, yeah, I said that, vaginally. Also orgasms internally from the uterus and from the clitoris. So there's 3 ways that we can have orgasms. So there's when the uterus is removed, there's only one way, so you still can have orgasms. But a lot of people, a lot of women will say there's less sensitivity in the vagina afterward.
Really? Really? Understand, let's be logical here. Surgery causes more scar tissue than anything else. Have you ever had a scar? You could put your finger across it. You could hardly even feel your finger touching the skin, right? Well, it's scar tissue. Scar tissue is where we don't have the flow between the fibers of the spirit, of the blood, the lymph, and it's all jammed up and jelly tight. And so scar tissue is without light and frequency in it. Did you get that? You might say circulation, but guess what? Everything is about light and frequency. I am a light energy, magnetic, electrical, magnetic being. That's what I am. And so if I'm not feeding myself and being my cheerleader, loving and unconditionally loving and caring for myself, wow, okay, I would be screwed. Just think about somebody like me, if I didn't care for myself or love myself, and the bantering that goes on because I'm so unusual and different and I come up against it. So, the only way I can keep on going on and try to be what I believe is a brave heart, okay, is to love and care for myself and love everyone anyway. And understand something, when you eat, drink, or think, you better be looking high vibrational and light. And when you go out into the world, you protect your frequency and nothing else. If you go and you see somebody, arguing and bickering and being nasty to each other, you leave there. You leave right away. Don't stay there because you need to feed your trauma. And understand something. The only reason why people would stay there is because they have to feed the beliefs that the world sucks. The world is cruel. The world is a trauma drama. My world's not a trauma drama. My world is beautiful. And I understand this. I've had to try to make some logic out of it. And my God said, listen, we'll let the psychos control the money, the government, and all the systems down there. Let's see if 8 billion people can come together, even if they're different colors, different nationalities, and they eat differently, think differently. And let's find out if they can unconditionally love themselves and each other. Because if they did, the whole matrix would fall. That's the end of the story for me.
Words. But a lot of things that can happen afterwards, especially, is you have problems with the bladder. So you have a need to pee more often.
Scar tissue.
You don't feel that the bladder has...
Scar tissue. You got a chokehold. I already talked to you early in this, and I told you can get adhesions in your abdomen that wrap around your small intestine, large intestine, wrap around your liver, your gallbladder. But mainly, they wrap around your bladder, they wrap around your ovaries, they choke them off. And understand something. Guess what? The only time that, first of all, natural health practitioners, you can talk to most chiropractors, and they'll say, what scar tissue? I don't know what you're talking about. They'll try to push the joint back in, but you got to get rid of the scar tissue and bring it back to beautiful connective tissue, or it's just going to pop back out. Whether you believe it or not, people do not shrink. The actual cartilage between the discs of their vertebrae get dehydrated, and they still have the same amount of fiber, but they don't have the bounce anymore. Okay, so guess what? When you do Wolf non-surgical on somebody in Cellsonic, okay, even if you didn't do Cellsonic and they lost 2 inches, we can give them back 1 inch to 1.5 inches in the first treatment of their height. You don't believe me? Test me. Test me. It's one thing for me to say it, but come and test me. Don't tell me that I'm a liar. Don't tell me that I'm just trying to con you or trying to market you. I'm trying to tell you that we have been ruled and screwed over. Okay?
Fully emptied. A lot of women will end up going on hormone replacements too. If they had just the uterus removed.
Understand something. You want to go on hormonal replacements, go right ahead. If you were my partner or my daughter, I would advise you that that's doing it ass backwards. Your hormones are out of balance because you are not in harmony. You are not centered. You are infected. You are inflamed. And understand, when you have infection and inflammation or even just anxiety in a woman, it will offset her hormones instantaneously. And let me tell you something. If you had a slight smile on your face connected to your breath and you were on a whole plant-based keto diet, okay, then you would win the day. And understand something, if you want to balance your hormones, you need to try my black diamond, my black gold. And if you don't take anything else for hormonal replacement, they're not just going to do that. They're going to clean out heavy metals. They're going to clean out all the parasites, whether it's in the brain, in the blood, in the cells, in the large intestine, if you do the black diamond and the black gold. The black diamond is for the mouth to the rectum. The black diamond will go into the cells, goes into the blood, goes into the brain. And understand, it drops off 60 to 70 micronutrients, and then it'll load itself up with 300 to 600% weight in parasites, heavy metals, chemicals. But guess what? The humic inside of that will balance the hormones. And that is factual. If you don't believe me, go into my library and go into the Fulvic Humic Guide. All the research is there. Scientific research, not me just going blah, blah. Okay? So understand this. It's a nutritional imbalance and a disrespect of yourself. And if you think that depression and anxiety and stress doesn't upset the hormones, then you've got another thing coming. Okay? Everybody's going to try to sell you, and you can say, well, you're trying to sell me too. Well, I'm trying to get you back into balance. Okay? And then just don't buy my product. Go look for equal product from someone else. That's what you should do. Okay? All right? Okay.
Then it would be estrogen alone. Uterus and ovaries, pardon me. It would be estrogen alone. And if it was the uterus alone, then it would be estrogen and progestin.
Okay, so understand something. Do whatever you want to do that. But I am not going to play the mad scientist with you. I'm going to look for balance, okay? All the way down to your mitochondria and all the way into your belief systems, okay? Because understand, there are no diseases, there are no problems in the body unless you have mitochondrial damage, okay? Every disease is mitochondrial damage all the way to cancer. And the reality is when your mitochondria are working properly, okay? All right, an 85-pound person will make 75 kilos of ATP a day. Did you get that? Okay, so understand this. Every cell has mitochondria in it. They make ATP. ATP is the energy. ATP is what heals us. It's what makes our life so beautiful. And the people that are sick and in bed, their mitochondrial damage, they can't make enough ATP to get healthy. Well, we know how to do it. Yes, I do. You know, we'll charge you $150 for a perfect day consult. I would like you to try to find somebody who's going to give you unlimited support, no matter how often you're called, a 400-page manual that's all take action, that shows what emotion does this, what nutrition does this, what diet does this, exercises, everything, vaginal infusion, therapeutic vomiting, ultimate coffee enema. We have everything in it. And at the end of the day, if you want your money back, we'll give you your money back. And then you get to keep the manual. The reality is nobody's going to say that I'm out there trying to screw anybody over. And remember something, the more the information is controversial, the more they're coming after me. So the more I have to back up guarantees. If I was a medical doctor, I wouldn't have to give you any guarantees. If I was a run-of-the-mill practitioner, I wouldn't have to give you any guarantees. But because I'm doing things that are off-grid, I'm doing things that come up against the grain and the majority, I am going to give you as many guarantees as possible. Because why? At the end of the day, I don't feel like being attacked. And at the end of the day, it's not about the money. Look at what if you could actually make a difference in your life, in your family's life, in your friend's life, and other people. You know, the time that you felt the best about yourself was when you help people feel the best about them. And that's the God's truth.
And that's because estrogen alone will increase the risk of uterine cancer. Hysterectomies can lead to bladder and bowel dysfunction,
scar tissue, surgery, scar tissue,
as well as a 4-fold increase in risk of pelvic organ fistula surgery afterward.
Pelvic organ fistula. Do you know what a fistula is? A fistula is where you had enough poop particles, turds, or E. coli to eat a hole through your large intestine. Do you know how many women actually have fistulas in the last 3 to 4 inches of their bowel, and they're actually having poo going into their vagina? Once a week to once every 2 weeks, I get a phone call. Dr. Wolf, I wipe and it's brown and it smells like poo. And I go, you need to go to the doctor and you have a fistula, but guess what? With using CBD bullets, 250 milligram, which we make in Canada, and if we can get you to do daily cleansing tea, black gold, the ultimate coffee enema, and vaginal infusions, this will heal within 3 to 6 weeks. And you won't have to deal with this ever again. If you want harmony in your body, then restore what you're missing. Get rid of the infection to get rid of the inflammation. Get rid of the stagnation. Let go that which does not serve you on an emotional and physical level.
So there's a lot of things that you have to kind of consider before you just jump into that. And I know I had a hysterectomy, and I was 40 when I had it. And I worked with a naturopath for about 2 years trying to
not have to go to surgery. But understand, go ask Lorraine. She won't lie to you. If Lorraine would have known what she knows today, why don't you get to know Lorraine, get a perfect day consult from her or from one of the other master consultants that are up on my consultation page at Doc of Detox, and ask her to show you the picture of her before she came to us for a whole life coach certification. And remember, whole life coach certification is for absolutely everyone and anyone. And you don't need any degrees to come and take my courses. And you can work your way all the way to a doctorate of natural medicine. You heard what I said. And we have a doctorate of indigenous medicine that will help protect you against your own government, because now you'll be working outside of the restrictions of the American, Canadian, Australian, European government. You think I'm kidding? We have the information to provide with that, because understand something, is natural health under attack? Okay, so guess what? Let's get you into a safe place, okay, where you can just do your love's passion and purpose without being attacked.
So, number one, my periods weren't so heavy, and number two, to get the fibroid to go down. And we weren't successful with either, and there was...
Why? Because she wasn't doing the ultimate coffee enema. She wasn't on a whole plant-based keto diet. She wasn't doing vaginal infusion. She wasn't doing daily cleansing tea, black gold. She didn't know about it. She knows about it now. Go take a look at a picture of before and after.
As far as she was concerned, there was no other alternative. So, we do what we only know that we can do, and that's it.
That's all. You can't do any more than you know.
One of the
things
not
your fault, guys.
That we can definitely be doing if we have a fibroid or if our periods are heavy, definitely we've got to clean up that pelvic bowl. So
well, first of all, don't mess it up. And that would be first of all, don't mess it up. Get yourself a perfect day consult. It's $150. Why don't you really show me? Go get the consult, grab the 400-page manual, which is 45 years of my work, and then just go get a money back. There you go, because it won't hurt me. The reality is this. We better get the information out there somehow. We better get it out there somehow. Go into my library. It is the biggest self-care, self-love library. And if you have a problem self-loving and self-caring for yourself, you better buckle up, because you've got one hell of a bumpy road ahead of you.
Start doing them, clean up your diet, look for high vibrational foods, which is raw and fresh, so fruits and vegetables. Stick to a clean diet, detoxify the body, make sure the large intestine is working well. Make sure you're exercising, especially getting the hips moving, because we want to be able to...
The most powerful exercises in the world are called pelvic squats. You can see those in my do-it-yourself guide or in the Perfect Day guide if you get a consult, or they're also in the 6-day advanced water fasting guide. And if you really want to turn on $100,000 worth of stem cell therapy without paying for it, do a 6-day advanced water fast, because that's actually scientifically proven. And then turn on autophagy in a 6-day advanced water fast, that you go in and eat up everything you don't want in your body. And that's all in my library again. But if you go to my do-it-yourself guide, you'll see clapping, how to clap, and understand anybody that claps their body and bruises, you're rotten to the core, okay? So healthy people don't bruise. You'll see belly button therapy, you'll see vaginal infusions, you'll see therapeutic vomiting, the ultimate coffee enema. But the pelvic squats, you should be doing morning and night, everyone. And you should also be doing the crab stretch at least once a day. Please go check that out, okay? All right?
Expand things in the hips rather than contract them. So we want to be able to loosen up all those muscles so everything is working really well. And of course, the other thing you can be doing is joining us for one of the pelvic restoration and disease prevention masterclass. Our next one is coming up real soon in Bonita Springs, Florida, October 27th, 28th, and 29th. We will also be doing a lecture on the 24th, a free lecture.
So what you can do is you can go to braveheartnation.com or bhnuniversity.com, see our schedule. Just know this, I will be there tomorrow, like I said, at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we will be doing a lecture from 10 until 2. And then we will be starting the Whole Life Coach on Wednesday for 9 days. We still have 2 people can join it. That's it, no more. And then there's a day off, and then Wolf Non-Surgical. We have 2 spots left for that as well. And that is the most powerful body work in the world. I will give you a guarantee on it. And then there'll be a day off, and then the pelvic restoration course, which is 3 days. Then we are done. We are done till the new year, and then we're doing a Braveheart Health and Healing Circle, 4 days at the beautiful Cala Del Mar. It's a 4-diamond resort, not 4-star. And you come, if you don't want to stay there, you can use their pools, their swings that swing into the ocean. It is so gorgeous there. You can walk around the place. It's just unbelievably beautiful. We'll also be getting discounts if we want to use their spa, if we want to eat there. They have a beautiful breakfast restaurant. They have a beautiful supper restaurant. We'll be doing our celebration parties there. And we'll have a Braveheart Circle there, which is 4 days. And then there'll be like a Wolf Non-Surgical again, which is a 12-day course, which is the bodywork course. And then we'll have the pelvic restoration course, which is 3 days. And then the whole team is flying to Australia in February to do the exact same thing. Okay, so if in Australia, and that'll be in Melbourne, Australia, okay? And then after that, we'll be in Barrie, Ontario in March. And then after that, we'll be in Texas in April. And then we'll be back, we'll be back in Mexico. We'll be at the Ixtapa doing the full training program at Cala Del Mar in May. And then in June, I don't know where we are. I'm getting a little confused here, but it's all on braveheartnation.com. But we are also going to be in Australia this summer for a full protocol program. I'll be there for 6 weeks lecturing around the whole of Australia. I'll be traveling all over the place. These are all free lectures, by the way. And then the day with the doc, they're free as well. And then we will be doing the UK, okay, thanks to Julie. Julie's our host, and if you want to get in touch with her, you can find all the host names at braveheartnation.com. We are going to be doing this at 45 minutes outside of London, this beautiful, beautiful resort. Only $99 for 2 people can sleep in their rooms. 2 people, $99. And we've got a really big space, and they've got walking gardens. They've got a beautiful lake and river right there. They're going to have juicing. They're going to have beautiful meals. This is the UK one. So if you're from London, England, or Scotland, or anywhere around the area, or if you're from Europe, just come on over. Come on over and join us. And I'm going to be doing a lecture in London, a night lecture, and we're trying to find a space if anybody knows a good space. And then I'm going to do a day with the doc in London as well. And then we'll be doing all the trainings 45 minutes out of London. I think it's called I can't remember, but it's a beautiful resort, guys. Okay. Thanks for joining me today, and have the best day of your life. On Monday, we start our heavy metal parasite fungal sale, and you'll want to check it out. And here's the deal. So you can call, if you don't want to get a consultation, you can call our office and talk to master consultants by phone if you've got questions. Okay, they'll spend 5 to 10 minutes with you. Okay, all right. And like I said, if you do get a consult with us, it's $150 and it's lifetime support. And if you cannot get in touch with your master consultant, please do not be scared to call me. Sometimes I come off as a lion, but I don't mean it that way. I'm trying to crack open people's coconuts from the inside out so that they can learn how beautiful they are and how powerful they are. If you call me, I will show you all the compassion and all the heart in the world, because guess what? Whether you want to believe this or not, we all have the same creator, and we're all going back to the same creator. God bless.